What's up, it's Cinema Shogun here, and the they that is allegedly under Ezra Miller's control spoke out on its Instagram profile. In the video, them claims that them aren't under Ezra Miller's control and that them are in control of its own actions. And then basically them goes on to blame the birthing people, saying that the birthing people are overreacting and all types of things like that. But you know what? I will say this. Zim and Zer definitely have some explaining to do as to why they would allow the it that they created to spend so much time around Ezra Miller at such a young age. Whew. That was exhausting. I'm sorry, folks. I'm sorry. I know a lot of you all didn't understand what I was talking about there, but I was just trying to be as accepting and as politically correct as possible. You know, I'm trying to go along with what these people want to be referred as, and I think we all can agree that it sounds absolutely idiotic. Even if you're someone who's at home who, you basically go along with all of this pronoun stuff, I think you could agree when it's displayed in real life, it doesn't work. Like, it doesn't work in a real life setting, in a real conversation between adults. And it comes across as really weird. And in my day, when you called someone an it, that was like one of the worst things you could call someone. That was like a diss. That was a bad name. You know what I mean? So the fact that so many people want to be referred to as an it will never make sense to me. Literally. Now, let me rewind back and give you all a translation of what I was actually saying. The little girl who is allegedly under Ezra Miller's control, that allegedly is like in Ezra Miller's cult or whatever, she made a new Instagram video on her Instagram profile. In the video, she claims that she is not under Ezra Miller's control and that she's in control of her own actions. And then she basically goes on and, starts talking about the parents or what have you. Now, I'm, of course, going to give you my thoughts on the video. But first, I want you all to watch the video for yourselves. Now, while you're watching this video, go ahead, go down to the comment sections and get ready. I want you all to leave me your thoughts about what you think. Does this come across as sincere? Does this come across as maybe just a misunderstood teen that is trying to live her life? Does this come across as someone who's maybe being controlled? Does this come across as someone who's really uncomfortable? I want to know what you think, your honest opinions about it as you watch it down in the comments below. And of course, after we watch the video, I'll be right back and I'll let you know what I think about it. And as you know, I'm not going to bite my tongue about the situation. So let's go ahead and roll the clip.
All right. Hi, guys. Hi, folks. I've become aware that some people are saying that my statements were not written by me. I'd like to clarify that they are, in fact, directly from me. Nobody is controlling my Instagram account. I don't have a phone right now out of my own personal conviction. And honestly, it's really distressing that the narrative of the victim in question is not being granted any trust. I worked really hard to make really clear what was going on. And if the statements are too profoundly contrasting to whatever assumptions those of us have garnered and have chosen to carry, I'd like to say that it's nobody's business and that no one is owed a story or an outcome. This is my life. These are my decisions. And I'm disappointed in my parents and the press in every way. Thank you.
Okay, so hopefully most of you all have already left your thoughts about what you just saw down in the comments below. And if not, you're probably in the process of doing so right now. But while you do that, let me go ahead and give you my opinion about what I just saw. First off, by her appearance, it's typical. It's like these types always try to look the same way. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with her looks or what she's wearing. I'm just saying people with these mindsets typically try to dress and look a certain way. And these activist types, they always have this way with words where they can fool a lot of people into thinking that they're saying something when in reality they're not. She didn't say anything deep or profound here. She sounded like a scatterbrain who was just trying to sound smart while basically saying nothing at all, in my opinion. The fact that she's saying that she's not, that she is in control of her own actions and that she's the one that released the statements, I'm not necessarily doubting that. In these situations, it's like often the people who are being held captive, they're not being held captive by force. You know what I mean? Like in these type of situations, it's often not a physical thing that is holding them back. It's a mental thing. So yeah, she's technically in control of her own actions here. And technically, there's probably no one forcing her to stay. But there's a mental control that someone, possibly, Ezra Miller, possibly has over her. And had this been an 18-year-old woman who had met Ezra and went off and did all of this, I feel like this would be a totally different story. But because this was a 12-year-old little girl who has been running around getting influenced by Ezra Miller since she was 12 all the way up until 18, that's why there's some concern here. Some concern as if, maybe Ezra has been grooming her all along. And you can tell that she's, fallen into a certain ideology. And, if that's her thing, fine. But, I really worry about a lot of people who fall into this ideology because a lot of them are like lured in by people like Ezra Miller. It's not that they actually feel this way inside. Of course, they're probably battling with things inside. I think at a young age, as a teenager, especially, we all are, we're all dealing with weird things going on with our body, and our minds are changing, and, hormones. It's a weird thing, growing older, and especially those teen years when you're becoming a teenager, it's some confusing years. Fortunately, people in my generation and people older than me, they didn't have people in their ear constantly influencing them, telling them that they need to do this, or hey, maybe you're this, or maybe you're that. We kind of figured out our path on our own. You know what I mean? I mean, a lot of us had parents that helped to guide us through life and things like that, but we were more so allowed to find our own path, and if you winded up wanting to be whatever you wanted to be, fine. Whereas kids these days, it's like people are like forcefully guiding them in these weird different directions that most of these kids don't naturally really want to go in, but their young impressionable minds will go in any direction that you lead them in. And so I'm worried about her. Now, as far as the statement goes, like I said, it doesn't come across as totally sincere, but it doesn't come across as totally insincere. It just comes across as if she's kind of burnt out. Like, in my opinion, this looks like someone who's probably been rolling balls on like ecstasy pills or Molly for the last few days. And now they're like, oh man, I got to get in front of a camera and say some things because my parents are tripping. You know what I mean? So I don't know exactly what's going on here, but it's obviously something a little weird. You know, when you look at Ezra Miller's behavior, that's definitely something that is very problematic. You know, we can't dismiss that. It's not like Ezra Miller is this stand-up guy and this girl has run off with him and people are like tripping out, even though the dude doesn't have a blemish on his name. Ezra Miller has been wreaking havoc for months now, and years, honestly, and he's totally gone off the deep end. So when your child is unaccounted for, they're still at such a young age, they've been influenced by this older man for years, and you see that this guy is out here losing his mind. You know, he's jet setting around the world. He's in Hawaii choking out women. He's in Iceland beating on women. He's in Ireland pimp smacking women and choke slamming them on the ground. He's all over the place just attacking people. And you see that he's having a mental breakdown. Of course, you're going to worry about your child, because if he's in this bad mental state and he's really the leader of the situation, he's the adult here, then what do you think is happening to your child? Well, if you go on this girl's Instagram profile, you know, of course she made this video, but I went back and looked at a video that was just posted a couple of days ago. And now I want you all to watch this and let me know what you think about this. So what did that look like to you all? I can tell you what it looks like to me. It looks like this girl is out here sitting on some steps, tripping out on God knows what. There was no conversation being had. There's no back and forth. You could see her going. And then she just starts busting out laughing at nothing. And then when she starts tripping out, you could see the other girl ends the video. She comes up to her and then the video ends. So what's happening here, if you ask me, these three people in this video, Ezra, the other girl, and the girl that we're talking about now, they're all tripping on something, obviously. Maybe it's just her, I'm not sure. Maybe Ezra and the other girl, they can hold their stuff together a little bit better. But her, Takata, or however you pronounce her name, she is obviously tripping out on some stuff. She's obviously, very obviously, tripping out on some stuff. Why post this on Instagram? I don't know, but she's 18. Kids do stupid stuff. They probably think it's cool. Oh, I'm over here doing acid. Look at me, trip out on these steps and talk to ducks and stuff. But, I mean, the situation is very concerning to me. And I feel like it could be one of two things here. Either this girl has been groomed since she was 12 years old. I think that's already obvious because why was she around this dude at the age of 12 up until 18? And he's basically, forcing a way of life on her, a way of thinking, and inducting her into this weird, cult of Ezra Miller. And I think that that is a very, very strong possibility. The other possibility here is that, yeah, she's been under Ezra's influence for her entire teenage life. That's obviously that is not going to change. That's a fact. You know what I'm saying? That is a fact. Now, is she just out here, a young teenager, experiencing life? Yes, obviously doing drugs, and her parents are upset and worried about her because she's not getting in touch with them and things of that nature. And as horrible as this may sound, as crazy as this may sound, that's the best case scenario here. The best case scenario, as bad as this sounds, is that she's just out here tripping out on free drugs from Ezra Miller, and that's about it. And yeah, maybe her life is going down the drain. Yeah, this is obviously not a good thing, but that's literally the best case scenario we have here. We know that she's dropped out of school. I believe that the school was just a cover-up in the first place to originally get her away. She's not doing anything with her life, but tagging along with Ezra Miller as he gets arrested over and over again for beating up women. Now, if Ezra's beating up all of these women, then it's not unfathomable to think, I keep saying that word wrong, to think that maybe Ezra puts his hands on these two girls too. I honestly believe that Ezra kind of wants to be a woman and therefore he hates women. He obviously hates women. Because if you know about the incidences involving Ezra, they're always really weird. It's like one of the last problems that there was there was this girl singing karaoke, and Ezra, I guess, just took it upon himself to say, hey, I don't like the way you're singing this song, and snatched the mic out of her hand and slapped her. And then went and attacked some guy that was playing darts. So the dude is just off his rocker. He's insane, and no one is holding him accountable because of how he identifies. It's being used as a shield. And I say that because literally, as he was getting arrested and the officers are trying to pat him down, he's like, no, you can't do this. You can't do this. I'm non-binary trans. I need a woman to pat me down. Men can't touch me. He had this weird meltdown in which he tried to use his gender identity to get him out of jail. And he does it all the time. It's really crazy. We're not going to get into that conversation here. But like I said, best case scenario, as horrible as it sounds, is that she's just out here tripping on drugs and what have you. Worst case scenario is she's obviously out here tripping out on drugs with Ezra Miller, but she's also in this Ezra Miller cult. Ezra is an insane narcissist. He, displays a lot of cult-like behavior. I, look into a lot of different things, and of course we all, or not all of us, but a good portion of us know about, the weird cult-like stuff that goes on in Hollywood. Ezra Miller literally reminds me of a Charles Manson type, maybe even crazier. And that might sound weird, but I feel like even crazier because Charles Manson, as crazy and evil as he was, he had some wits about him, whereas Ezra doesn't. He's just totally insane and idiotic, yet he still has a certain power and sway over people. And the only reason he has that certain power and sway over people is because of how he identifies. When Ezra was just Ezra and he wasn't out here acting like he was this non-binary queen or whatever the hell he is, no one really cared. He didn't have that power over people. He got that power once he got those or placed those labels on himself, and then people started flocking around it because that's the popular thing to do for kids these days, unfortunately. So this whole situation's crazy, and I'm just hoping that it's not the worst case scenario, although I think that it's a strong possibility. And I think that because we've seen it time and time and time again. I always say that, you know, when I cover these news stories, and sometimes I have opinions that people, you know, are on the fence about, a lot of the time I have these opinions because of past experiences. Now, I don't necessarily mean past experiences that I personally experienced, but things that we've all experienced together, things that we've all seen. We've seen plenty of victims. If you don't know about the R. Kelly situation, look into the R. Kelly situation. He had a lot of these girls under his mind control and financial control for years and years and years. And they would always pump out videos that, oh, nothing's happening to us. We're in control of our own actions. And technically they were, because they could have walked out of his house or the hotel at any time, but they didn't because they were under his control. And later on, you realize how effed up all of the stuff was that was happening to them. And I feel like that's what's happening here. 5 or 6 years from now, we're going to have surviving Ezra Miller, the Takata Iron Eye story. Literally. Give it a decade, there's going to be a surviving Ezra Miller story. I could almost guarantee it if he doesn't die first or something else crazy happens, because dude's going down a destructive path. And honestly, even though he is a complete and utter horrible human being, I don't wish any bad upon him. I wish that he would get help. But I don't think that's going to happen. And I don't think anyone's interested in getting him help, because a lot of people are interested in defending him. A lot of people are interested in taking his side on this matter simply because of his gender identity. But I want to know your thoughts about all of this down in the comments below. While you're down there, if you like anything I said, drop a super thanks, drop a like, hit that subscribe button, ring that notification bell, and I'll talk to you on the next video.